Welcome back, everybody, to a viewer's questions. And today we have some great questions coming up for you, Linda. And also we have some fantastic thanks from some of our audience. I mean, I'm not going to pronounce this person's name, but he says, "Thank you. Your videos are pretty good. They stretch my imagination."
What do you mean? They're very good. Pretty good.
Well, given I can't pronounce the name and it looks like Greek, and no offense to anybody who is Greek, by the way, I'm just struggling to say it. We have a question here, so I'm going to start off, and I'm just going to look away from camera for a second whilst I start reading this question off to you, Linda, because it's a brilliant question here. Now, the person who's raised this question is an investor called Guerrilla Investor. Sounds quite fun. I've just got a Phil Collins look in my head here.
I've got exactly the same visual. Yeah.
Did you? Oh, great one. Well, Guerrilla Investor here says he has a grade 2 listed building and it has a shop on the ground floor that is a use class E. So he's clearly been watching some of our previous videos, and I know that, Guerrilla Investor, because you're a frequent commenter. Thank you very much. The use class E building is empty and wants to modify the internals to make it a takeaway or a food business of some description. I don't think we can do the takeaways internally on a use class E, but I think we can do a food business, which could be a restaurant or a cafe. Just to clarify.
Andrew, spot on.
Oh, thank you. I have an amazing teacher.
I'll get me coat.
Yeah. It amounts to mainly decorative changes, nothing structural. However, it's the grade 2 listed building. It's got flats above, it's got storage space at the back, it's rented and it's profitable, or it will be profitable once rented, should I say. And there's a massive garage at the back that's 40 square metres that I'd like to convert to a flat. Bit wary because it's a listed building. The two properties next door are also grade 2 listed, but they've had consent to convert the garage out the back to a flat. I've also looked on the Heritage England website and it gives a description of the windows and brick types of the doors, but doesn't really say what's listed. Do I need to get planning permissions, or is there anything I can do here, Linda? It just is a bit of a mess of a building.
Okay. Oh God, where do we start with this? Number one is it's listed. So the fact is, it doesn't matter what grade it is. Grade, and let me talk about grade 2 listed buildings. Grade 2 listed buildings are I was going to say they're the ugly sisters, but they're not. But the majority of listed buildings in this country are grade 2 listed. Something like 85-90% of them are grade 2 listed. So they're the also rans, if you like, but have nonetheless they are statutorily listed and therefore are protected. Then you get the grade 2. Hey,
can I just interject here? We have a grade 2 listed building here in Northampton. It's nicknamed the Lighthouse. It's the Old Express Lift Tower. It's a concrete cylinder that rises about 150 metres in the air, and it's bug ugly. It certainly is the ugly sister, Linda.
Yeah, well, not every listed building. There was the concrete car park in Plymouth or somewhere that was listed. Then they're not necessarily listed for their prettiness. So they're not the Cinderellas of the listing world. they're sometimes listed because of who the architect was, because of the architectural history of the building and what it stood for. So there's all sorts of reasons for listing. So don't necessarily think that it's got to be some grand and beautiful architectural design. It doesn't have to be, and a lot of them aren't. So grade 2, so you get grade 2 listed buildings, grade 2 star listed buildings, which are at the next level up, and then you get grade 1 listed buildings, and then of course you go on to scheduled ancient monuments, which is slightly different. So with a grade 2 listed building, if it is statutory listed, and obviously they've been on the website and it is, you go on a map and you look for a little blue triangle, and if it's on there, it will bring you the listing. It's listed, so it is therefore protected. Now, he said he's read the description on the Historic England website, and he said it doesn't really say anything. If you do anything to a listed building, you need listed building consent. Doesn't matter if we're not doing anything structural, doesn't matter if you're just doing a bit here and a new door there and a window, you need listed building consent. And it's serious if you fail to get listed building consent. You can end up in the magistrates' court if the council choose to pursue that avenue. So listed buildings are not for the faint-hearted. You have to jump through every single hoop, and depending on how precious the council are about this building, there may be several hoops to jump through. I would very definitely look at the planning applications of the neighbouring buildings and find out the information that was required to be submitted and how much information was required before you start anything like this. Now, so that is, don't touch it. You get listed building consent. If you do not do that, then you could be in serious amounts of trouble. Needs listed building consent. Now, as you said, there is nothing in the new, and I'm going to use this phrase, permitted development rights, the prior approval hybrid system, that says you can convert what has been a Class E to takeaway. Takeaway is now a Class A5 is now in sui generis. So you cannot do a takeaway under these prior approval rights. So for anybody out there who's thinking about that, you just can't. It needs full planning permission. Now, the concern that I have with this, if this were my client and I were advising, the concern that I would have with a takeaway on a list in a listed building is going to be your food extraction flue, your odors and smells and cooking smells and everything. So that is going to be a big deal, because that is going to have to go, invariably these go externally, and they're a big sort of stainless steel chimney with a big flue. I mean, they're not as ugly as they used to be, but they're still not pretty.
No. So
the big issue that I have with that is that if you are doing takeaway food and hot takeaway food, such as Indian, Chinese, Greek, Armenian, all of the above, and it's hot food to be taken away, you're going to run into an issue with regard to the extraction system that is invariably going to have to be in place for environmental purposes, and the Environmental Health Department would be consulted on any planning application. Now, let's back up, because you were absolutely right in saying that if you wanted to convert a Class E to a restaurant
or cafe
or little cafe, and the predominant use of that premises is to eat inside. Now, it might be that someone might come in and say, could I just have a sandwich, and could I get a coffee to go? And that, is an occasional thing. but provided that is only an ancillary part, and that might be classed as takeaway, but it's soft takeaway. It's not full-blown takeaway. It's not the only use. So if your main use is restaurant or cafe, then you can convert from Class E to a restaurant or cafe. Actually, no, you don't even need permission. Don't need planning permission at all.
It's a right. But
notwithstanding anything that you do under permitted development rights prior approval, or not even development at all, because it's all within Class E, you still have to get your listed building consent. Now, that's for the ground floor. Now, I think we somewhere in the wording, I'm not sure.
There was talk about converting a garage out the rear,
but they're vacant and they're in a sort of dilapidated state. If you are going to do any work to the upper floors, you will need listed building consent. So very, very careful, softly approach with this. You have to get all of your ducks in a row, and it will depend. I would get some sort of conservation specialist, listed building specialist, builder involved, if you are going to be doing this, in order so that you tick all of the boxes and council get all of the information that they ask you for. And it's not, as I said, it's not for the faint-hearted.
No. Well, I think that's a really good answer, Linda. I mean, I was going to sort of probe you and poke you in the ribs a little bit, but you sort of headed me off at the pass about putting in some tables in your takeaway so that customers have a choice to sit in or go out. Therefore, you're giving them choice. You can't dictate whether they keep the food in the restaurant or take it out of the restaurant. The option is there. But you seem to have used some eloquent wording there, where predominantly most of the business is internal and occasional is takeaway. But I'd also like to sort of mention and wind back to the listed building side, where you have made quite a big and important point about the listed building. Now, you've just recently put in an application for me on a building that used to be listed but was delisted. And it was
a lucky boy.
Rather a large building, and it was a period building, very, very prominent positioning. But actually, although it looked listed and it used to be listed, it isn't anymore. So we could use the Class MA application process to do that. So it just goes to show something that might look listed isn't, and something that might be bog ugly, as Linda called it, is. Check, and do your due diligence. And if you want to, I would urge you to reach out to Linda and ask her to support you with your application. She's a fantastic person. She has said I'm picky as a client because I'm a detail person. You probably got that from watching this channel.
We've not finished this, have we?
No, carry on.
Because he was talking about the garage outside and converting that. Now, I'm a bit horrified by people converting garages, but maybe that's just me. But I just wanted to go back and say, if this is a listed building, you couldn't have used Class MA anyhow. Because listed buildings are not available under this prior approval notification process. So, you can set all of that aside because it's listed. But you also asked about converting the garage to a flat.
That's right.
Without knowing the site circumstances, that's difficult to answer. But if the adjacent buildings, you'll need full planning permission, and you may also need listed building consent. Now, I know you're going to say to me, yeah, but it's the garage outside. No, it is within the setting of the listed building. So it will arguably need listed building consent.
Your neighbours are also listed as well, which means you would also need full planning permission for it.
Well, that's not necessarily, it's within the setting of a listed building, so you need listed building consent, but you'll need full planning permission, because there is nothing that says you can convert a garage into a flat. So I suspect the neighbouring properties have also had full planning permission for these conversions. Depends on how long ago they've done this, because a lot of councils now have minimum space standards, not the nationally described standards, but a lot of councils have their own planning minimum space standards. So you will need to know that, whether it complies. If these properties at the site have been done a few years ago, they may not have had to comply with that. So it may be your garage wouldn't comply, wouldn't be big enough. There's also the issue, a lot of councils now are a lot more hot on amenity space, parking areas, all of these kinds of things. So you just need to have a look at that, or engage the services of a fabulous planning consultant, you know.
Somebody we might know on this channel, might they be?
I don't know.
Well, Linda, another fabulous update once again. Guerrilla Investor, I hope that has answered your question, and also probably given you a little bit more to think about than you perhaps were originally bargaining for.
Sorry.
Yeah, these things happen, don't they, Linda? It's better to do your due diligence.
Better to know.
Yeah?
Yeah, better
do
to
your
know
due
upfront.
diligence. And we always promise you, if you drop your questions below, we will answer those questions for you. But if it's urgent, reach out to Linda, because we only record these once a month. And yeah, we wouldn't want you to miss out, would we, Linda?
Definitely not, no.
Once again, thank you very much, Linda. It's Linda Wright of Planet Wright. Reach out to her via her social media or website. The website's up and running again now.
No, it's not. The website's still down. I'm being very, very picky with it. I'm really sorry, but it was supposed to be up and running at the beginning of the year. It's not. Oh no, I'm sorry.
I'm a picky client, and you're a... Okay, sorry, I won't say anything. I can be picky, but you can't be. It's goodbye from me, Andrew Roberts.
And it's goodbye from me, Linda Wright. Thank you for watching.